Good evening, everyone. This is our 20th class, and we are continuing with the topic of ozone depletion. Now, one topic which needs a bit of discussion is ozone hole. Okay, questions have been asked on this thing, and there is something very strange. Question is normally asked: why do we have ozone hole in Antarctic and not in Arctic? So let's start this discussion. First, ozone hole was discovered first by Joseph Foreman. Okay. CFC production in use started around 1930s and they became important industrial products by 1950s. I hope you remember who discovered CFCs. Can you type the name of the scientist who discovered CFCs? Please type name of the scientist who discovered CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons. I told you in the last class only. So please type the name of the person who discovered CFCs. Waiting for answers. Yes, good, Vaishali. Good. Subra. Yes, Amal. That's okay. Okay, that's it. You people, I hope you remember that. Okay. So Mario Molina and Sherwood Rowland has around 1974 shown that ozone could be destroyed by the chlorine release from CFCs. So today we have studied the ozone chemistry, and we know that chlorine could cause destruction of lot many molecules of ozone. And from where this chlorine comes? This chlorine comes from CFCs. Okay, how this chlorine reaches into the stratosphere? These were the studies which were done, and it was in these studies it was found as the ozone concentration was decreasing, there was a consequent increase in the chlorine concentration. So you can see there is a positive relationship between the decline in ozone concentration and increase in chlorine concentration. How this chlorine, from where this chlorine is coming? So little observations reveal that as the amount of chlorine in the form of chlorine monoxide increased in the atmosphere, there was a consequent decrease in the amount of ozone. The chlorine monoxide was traced to CFCs. The two main catalytically inactive molecules containing chlorine in the stratosphere are, please underline this thing, chlorine nitrate and hydrogen chloride gas. Chlorine monoxide is produced from chlorine nitrate by removing nitric acid. We will talk about this thing. Now the question is, why ozone hole only in Antarctic and not in Arctic? Why only in Antarctic? Okay. So discovery of ozone hole was linked with the CFCs. Although CFCs are produced throughout the world, they cause most of the ozone destruction in the Antarctic. CFCs, because of their inert nature, can reach stratosphere. We talked about the two most important properties of CFCs. One of them was inertness and second was stability. So both of these properties allow them so that they can keep on rising in the troposphere and reach a stratosphere. Once they reach a stratosphere, in the stratosphere there is availability of short wavelength UV rays called UVC in the range of about 220 nanometers, and these wavelength UV rays cause breakdown of this CFC and help in releasing of chlorine. So as this chlorine is released from these CFCs, it is immediately fixed by combining with nitric acid to form chlorine nitrate, and it remains immobilized. This chlorine nitrate along the CFCs moves towards the polar region, but it will not cause destruction of ozone as it is present in inert form. Okay, so this chlorine nitrate is basically an inert, immobilized form of chlorine. Chlorine cannot be released from this particular product till ideal conditions comes. What are those ideal conditions? Let's see. With Antarctic winter, extreme dark and cold conditions set in, and there develops a temperature difference between poles and equator. And when there is a difference of temperature, it leads to development of pressure gradient force, and then pressure gradient force is responsible for movement of air with a high speed, which leads to formation of a structure known as Antarctic polar vortices. These are kind of vortex shaped air circulation. These vortices act as a containment well and separate area inside the vortex from outside. The temperature inside the vortex is around -70 to -80 degrees Celsius. Mind you, it's a very low temperature. and it contains the material like all these substances. They get contained in this atmospheric vortex or Antarctic vortex. Inside the vortex form a special kinds of clouds called polar stratospheric clouds. I did talk about these clouds when I was discussing the concept of structure of atmosphere. These polar stratospheric clouds are made up of different types of ice crystals, and these ice crystals are nothing. They basically form from nitric acid, which is taken out, which combines with the water to form crystals of nitric acid trihydrate. So the icy crystals which are present in the polar stratospheric clouds are basically nothing but nitric acid trihydrate crystals. In the formation of these nitric acid trihydrate crystals, nitric acid is extracted from chlorine nitrate. So now the chlorine monoxide is free. This chlorine monoxide can now cause breakdown of ozone molecule whenever light is available. So with the arrival of spring season, because during winter season there is no light availability, so this chlorine monoxide cannot cause breakdown of ozone until sunlight is available. And because the availability of sunlight increases during the spring season, so as soon as the sunlight comes, this chlorine monoxide starts destroying ozone at a very fast rate. And this leads to development of ozone hole only during the spring season and only in the Antarctic area, because Antarctic area is having sufficient amount of land and sea availability, which is responsible for development of atmospheric vortices, while Arctic area is mostly covered with ice and water. So conditions are not ideal for the development of atmospheric vortex, and because vortex does not form, so the conditions are not ideal for the formation of polar stratospheric clouds. So there is no need for nitric acid trihydrate crystals, and therefore chlorine remains immobilized in the form of chlorine nitrate. Okay, so when temperature becomes warmer in spring, this vortex disappears and the surrounding air comes in, which is more nitrified, and when this nitrified air will come, it will again combine with the chlorine to form immobilized form of chlorine, that is known as chlorine nitrate.